Breathing in diesel exhaust fumes is like walking into a fire without a mask. Over time, those toxins lead to cancer. Protect yourself with Magnegrip, the easiest, most reliable exhaust removal system that features a true 100% seal to eliminate diesel exhaust fumes. To get free grant assistance, visit Magnegrip.com.
Attention first responders, ready for a new challenge? You can turn your leadership skills into deliciousness by becoming a Firehouse Subs restaurant owner. First responders will receive a $100,000 cash incentive to help open their restaurant. Continue serving after service. Visit FirehouseSubsFranchising.com today.
Welcome to Sons of the Flag Radio. This is brought to you by Fire Engineering Blog Talk Radio. Sons of the Flag, we were founded in 2012 just to support one burn survivor. And over the last 12 years, we have come exponentially far in addressing and revolutionizing burn care for veterans, first responders, and civilian burn survivors by providing funding for innovative research, fellowships for doctors, and to also further the training and treating burn survivors and support those who were and are continually impacted by these traumatic burns. Today we have a great show. I'm super excited. As always, we got the man Zach here with us. Landon's running things from behind the scenes, and then we have a very distinguished guest today. I got to give him the proper introductions. He works in the fire marshal's office for San Marcos, and let me pull up your thing. It just went away. Sorry. Of course, everything with all the success we've had so far with everything. Why wouldn't it work right now? Okay. So I got Bobby Dallimore. He's the deputy fire marshal for the San Marcos Fire Department. DJ reached out to us, which is Zach's mom, and wanted to introduce us to Bobby and his relationship with Zach. And since we have firsthand knowledge, he has firsthand knowledge of the evening with Zach, and then also kind of where do we head now? The fire prevention efforts, and obviously how is San Marcos moving forward from such an incident. So as we start all of our shows off, I'm going to read the line of duty deaths from our last episode. And then also take an extra moment of silence to remember all of our fallen law enforcement and military veterans since then. So, Roderick Lambert, Thomas Berry III, Matthew Ferrand, Brian Peake, William Treach, Christopher Eddy, Daryl Helton, Thomas Patterson, Kyle Brinker, and Timothy Hall. Let's all take a moment of silence for them. All right. So, again, as I kind of alluded to, we have our special guest today, Bobby Dallimore, Deputy Fire Marshal from the San Marcos Fire Department, and the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Zach Sutterfield.
Hey, buddy.
What up, bro?
Hey, how's it going, y'all? It's an honor to be here with you guys.
Glad to have you back. Always glad to see you. You've got a lot going on right now, right?
Yes, sir. We are gearing up for the golf tournament here in our town. We got our Country for Country coming up, so we got a lot of really fun events that we're looking forward to. We're very excited.
Yeah, we're in our busy time of the year for Sons of the Flag. It's that end of year. Everybody's involved. There's multiple things going on at once. So it's always a great time of year for us. It's a big revenue generator for us. And again, that money goes straight back to the local facilities in our areas, and obviously families like Zach to help further burn care. And so while we're on that, $50 is assist with a meal while traveling, $175 is lodging for a night, $500 is air travel for a patient, and $2,500 donations will help fund an entire family. So your money goes to a very noble cause. And again, I can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart for Sons of the Flag, as I speak on behalf of them, for your continued dedication and support to our mission moving forward. And so without this organization and without you, the support of everyone involved, we wouldn't have Zach sitting here being able to address the world on such a grand platform and really making sure this message gets out. So Zach, I'm proud of you. I guess I said we always brag on you. Super proud of what you've done and where you've come from and where you're going. So,
I
but I
appreciate
do
it.
want to bypass you for a second. We talked to you enough, but I do want to talk to our special guest today. So, Bobby, you just wanted to kind of give a quick introduction for yourself.
Yeah, Bobby Dallimore. I'm with the San Marcos Fire Department. Been with the fire marshal's office for about 5 years now. Total experience about 16 years firefighting. About 9 of which I was stationed downtown San Marcos on Engine One, and yeah, so kind of after the fire event that occurred at the iconic Village Fire, I had an opportunity to go to the fire marshal's office and kind of dove into that area and tried something new, and yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at now, and really kind of focused on being good at everything I do, as far as when it was, backseat firefighter. I was a backseat firefighter that day of the fire, going to all the trainings and, being the best I could be in that position. And then, taking it over here to the fire marshal's office, anything worth doing is worth doing right. And that's kind of how I go about my career. And so, yeah, just excited to see this side of things. It's eye-opening, definitely. Whenever you step into a different area of your line of work, it's eye-opening. Same thing, when I went to become a police officer for the arson side of things, you kind of have this expectation, and then you step into that area and you're like, oh wow, okay, this is
Right.
you're just kind of taken back a little bit, and so you kind of entrench yourself in that, and you kind of see where that industry needs assistance too, just like the fire department. Like there's always areas for improvement, and and then going to the fire marshal's office too, just kind of seeing how all the pieces fit together. Doing it, firefighting, paramedic, police, now in the fire marshal's office, fire code, and kind of entrenching into the whole public safety. You kind of you get to see all the pieces of the puzzle and how they all interconnect. And yeah, so it's been fun.
You're talking about being good at everything you do. Looking at your resume, you're obviously was a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and you are the defensive tactics instructor for San Marcos Police Department.
One of them, yeah.
You just all you want to do is go in there and whoop up with the cops. That's all you want to do. Is
yeah, right, yeah.
Go in there and levy it down a little bit on them.
I also learned how to squeeze cats with the bagpipes too, so I've got that under my belt as well. So it's
nice, man.
I kind of like to entrench myself into all of it. So it's
Dude,
been
awesome.
good. It's been good fun. I've been I've tackled everything that the fire service is throwing at me. So
that's awesome,
and can still continue to do it.
So was the fire prevention route, was that a path you always wanted to go down, or was it just by chance an opportunity opened?
Yeah, not at all. Like I was a backseat fireman. Like I was perfectly happy just riding that all the way through my entire career.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. The older you get, things change. So
yeah.
But yeah, and then I was definitely a fireman's fireman. I was all about it. Really kind of entrenched myself with the nozzle forward and kind of move forward with that, and ladders, just being really involved with the rookies and their training. Just took every training opportunity that I could get. So
that's awesome, man. I wish, I shouldn't say I wish. I hope that all the new generation of firefighters come in and carry that kind of mindset into the job, because so I feel like we do get beat down and burned out pretty quick around here, and
yeah,
I just hope that everybody can kind of keep that mission focused mindset and keep growing and evolving.
Yeah, and the biggest thing you could do is surround yourself by people that are better than you.
100%.
When you do that, that just if everybody did that, man, we'd be an unstoppable force.
Oh, for sure, man. That's why I love people like Zach and DJ. they have both endured and overcome so much. And, you know, like you said, surround yourself with people better than you. And they've challenged me, you know, indirectly to become better, you know, at my job, better at really giving a crap about what's going on, a little bit more so than I normally would have. I mean, I've always been lived and breathed the fire service, but I think my eyes have been opened up to a different side of the fire service that I never really would have dreamed of. And so I kind of want to talk about that relationship with you guys and kind of how it's evolved, because you've obviously have firsthand connection with. I mean, I've talked to Chief Stevens. I know Les real well, and you know, we've had our conversations, and we send our inappropriate pictures to Zach all the time. But
A little too much sometimes.
I know. But we had, you know, we've had our communications, and so I kind of want to talk about the relationship with you guys. You know, we've talked with Zach a lot about that night, but we've never had firsthand account of the night outside of Zach. Without, you know, obviously going into much detail, because still it's open for litigation and whatnot, and hopefully we can keep going forward with that. Kind of give an insight, you know, on your like kind of arrival. What were y'all clued in on? You know, what was your mindset going in? You know, did
we were on the tail end of our shift, 4 o'clock and about 4:30 in the morning. Tons drop for a structure fire, and you know, anytime a fireman hears that, I mean, it's an instant adrenaline dump. And I was actually acting up driver on that particular night, and I remember getting to the truck and then hearing all the radio traffic of people jumping out of windows and stuff. Your adrenaline's just pumping even harder. And I remember driving to that scene that night. My captain ended up had to tell me, he's like, "Hey man, you need to slow down," because I mean, I could see the big glow, and then you're hearing reports of people, you know, jumping, and so, you know, it's slowed it down, and then you know, it's important to make it to scene. You can't, you know, you don't help anybody by wrecking the truck going to something like that. So going up and making scene, and just seeing just massive fire. You know, typically it's normal for us to roll up on something with like 1 to 2 room involvement, right? And you're like, okay, yeah, this is bread and butter. We got this. And, you know, showing up to something like that, where it's massive, massive fire. I mean, there's people everywhere. You're ready to have engine 2 made scene probably 1 to 2 minutes before we got there. So they're already doing work and starting to do rescues on the front side of the building. And then we're trying to, we got basically 2 buildings kind of that are threatened by the fire, where the main fire was, and trying to protect those from catching and then spreading to those buildings, because there's people probably sleeping in those ones too. This particular building didn't have, you know, fire alarm systems or fire protection systems in it, so it's kind of it's left to one of those where you just gotta, you know, knock on doors and make people alert, you know, aware of the fire. So you know, instantly get off the truck and, you know, went to work on trying to protect exposures, and then, you know, it's a lot to take in. I mean, there's 1,000 things to do, and you're showing up with you know, a 5-station fire department at the time. You know, we got minimum staffing is 21 people. So, you know, if this fire would have happened in, you know, Austin, San Antonio, or, you know, the bigger cities, you got 100 firemen there easy, you know. So immediately we're overtasked with everything that's going on. And yeah, it was a pretty rough night. I think we ended up getting the fire out under control probably around noon that morning. So yeah, and then that was the other thing too, is you know, you run out of air, and usually after that, you know, you're like, hey, it's rehab, you know, go back and get some water. Well, you know, when we're telling Chief like, hey, we need some more air, Chief's like, hey, I got nobody else, like, you gotta make it happen. So, you know, I remember one of the guys running back down to the truck, grabbing some bottles, and then just strapping it back on your back and getting back into the fight again, you know. So it was just probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to endure. And I could speak to, you know, everybody else too on that scene. Everybody was working their butts off, and definitely, you know, as a backseat guy, you know, you you want to go to the big one, right? Like if it does happen, you want to make sure you're on shift when it does happen. That particular night, man, I don't wish that on anybody. That's quite the undertaking. It's that's a tough situation when you got we're a small city with big city problems, is what I like to say. And, manpower is key when you got something like that going on. But, and then kind of after that, getting wrapped up in the investigation, shortly after that, got assigned to the task force when I got, went over to the fire marshal's office and, really kind of diving into that side of it, was seeing it from a different lens, being the one fighting it that day and then getting wrapped up in the investigation. Was it's not a lot of guys get to experience that outlook, or see that full circle part of it. And then really, I don't think I met Zach or DJ until, when was it, Zach? Like a couple years after, 3 or 4 years afterwards, I think I finally got to meet you. And I remember when I first saw you, man, I was kind of teared up and I gave you a hug.
Yeah, it was a very heavy emotional day.
For sure. Yeah. So yeah, just, man, talking with Zach and DJ and the work that they're doing now and the message they're trying to get out, and then being in the line of work that I'm in now, prevention side of it, man, it's so important. So important. I would say, if not more important than the suppression. I mean, like, those guys are there, when you need them, for sure, when things don't go the way they're supposed to. And it's really opened my eyes being on the fire marshal side of things. It's given me a drive to really understand the codes and why the codes are written the way they are. If I don't do my job correctly, then it's doing Zach and DJ a disservice, because I'm seeing these buildings from when they're drawn on paper to fully erect, and making sure that all these systems are in place for a reason. I mean, there's reasons why there's laws written down and adopted. It's because of, events prior to Iconic. I mean, it's just the history of fires in America and around the world has created these laws. So, taking my same approach that I took in the back seat as I do now, just making sure that, that I'm doing anything worth doing is doing right and doing my job to the best I can in the capacity that I have is extremely important.
I think you nailed it. Talking about mindset, shifts, because similar approach, I always had the view of the fire prevention office as just like the dorky guys that just read code. They're always grumpy, which ours are here. I love my guys here. I always make fun of them, say they're the most grumpy guys, but their workload is unbelievable. And working hand in hand with fire prevention, it's so hard to sit there and say that they do this, and this until you sit there and see firsthand what they try to fight for. Because I know the cities are, I hate to say it, but the cities at times are our enemies, and not just the cities, but it's the developers coming in here. And our city has a certain standard, and of course we need business, we need stuff to come in and out.
Yeah.
But these developers will try to shortcut us and try to change stuff up and try to sit there and negotiate. And sometimes it's like they strong arm these cities. And when you come from cities like that I work for, we're doing great, and we have great planning and development teams, and our fire prevention, granted it's only 3 people, their workload's insane, and they can't catch every little detail anymore. And it's no one's fault. It's just the growth in Texas. But being where you guys at, I know y'all's fire prevention office is pretty well staffed, from what Chief Stevens has told me.
Yeah, we've I think whenever Iconic happened, I think we only had 3 guys back there in the fire marshal's office. And this region of Texas, I mean, Texas in general is just booming right now with construction. I think we had started out with 3, and then when I came over, I was number 4, and today we're at 9.
Wow.
I mean, it's the workload, man. I'd always say it, man. I was like, man, it'd be a lot easier if I just was back on the truck, you know?
Oh, I know for a fact.
It's insane how many things that you got up, and how many balls you got up in the air, you know? We've come a long way. I think Chief Stevens has done a great job and allocating the resources in the city as well. You know, the support of the city manager, seeing the importance of prevention, and what it can do. And then, you know, it's nice getting that support, especially when you know, I look at the work, I look at the workload, and it's like, man, we need more guys. We need more guys, you know, and we're getting it. And honestly, we could use more. The more I dive into this, the more I see things, and you kind of touched on it. You know, these contractors, they're in the business of making money, and same thing, you know, with the building owners and stuff. That these systems cost a lot of money.
Yep.
And there's always shortcuts that are being had, and you know, that's why you have a permitting process and get guys like us to come in there and look at it and make sure that things are getting done right. Because if you didn't have that, man, some of the stuff that I've seen over the last 5 years, it's like, man, they'll cover it up if you let them, you know, and they just move on to the next job. And
my favorite answer is these guys will say, well, you know, everything is sprinklered, so why do you have to have the 100 to 200, 150 to 200 feet hose reach? Why do you have to have that if it's sprinklered? That's irrelevant.
Right.
There's a code, you know, and I think the iconic Village fire could go down in one of the notable fires in U.S. history because of the lack of suppression systems and alarm systems, you know, and then, you know, y'all's message and then Zach's message getting out. This could be one of those instrumental fires that has significant change down the road, especially when it comes to multifamilies.
Right.
And I know that's been Zach's big thing is about, especially for college dorms, you know, dormitories. Holy crap. I mean, just from what Zach's told me and what they've been kind of pushing forth, we don't have the dorms up here yet. We don't have any of that stuff, but you guys do. And like you said, and old buildings, outdated, you know, equipment, and y'all are running big city issues on small department.
Yep. Yeah. And you know, going back to, you know, talking about those older buildings that don't have these systems, you know, we have laws on the books right now that helps, you know, curtail issues that might come up. You know, putting extinguishers up in some of these buildings, you know, it's every 75 feet, you know, where you don't have to travel, no travel distance is greater than 75 feet to get to an extinguisher, making sure that you don't have combustibles kind of located in the paths of egress. You know, the important thing there is, even with buildings with sprinkler systems, you know, there's a huge lack in the, you know, just the public awareness of how these systems work. And, you know, you'll get people that'll be like, oh, well, my building's sprinklered, you know, but you're like, well, you don't have sprinklers on your breezeways, you don't have them in your balconies, you can't have combustibles positioned here, you know. And they're like, okay, well, they don't look at it like that. They just think, oh yeah, my building's sprinkled, we're good. Well, no, you don't have sprinklers where you need them, you know. Like if you want to put stuff here, then you got to put sprinklers here. And, you know, just going out and, you know, we make a huge effort. There's over 300 apartment complexes in San Marcos, and we make a giant effort, and we get to inspect all of those.
Good.
We push very hard to inspect those annually, because that's over 70% of the population lives in apartment multifamily housing. So that was one thing that we wanted to tackle, and that was something that was implemented by Kelly Kistner prior to the iconic Village fire, actually. So that was one big risk assessment that we did, and we got started with it, and then unfortunately iconic happened. But But that proved our point as to exactly why this is important and why we continue to do those inspections every year. So, and then getting in and educating these people on their systems and, what this, what things mean on the fire alarm panel. Like the biggest thing that happens is when I go there, it's lit up like a Christmas tree. And it's like, hey man, no, you're supposed to have one green light. That's it, and they don't know. They're like, oh yeah, it beeps all the time. I just don't know. Yeah. I don't know why it beeps. And I think there's a big need for educating these people on these things. I kind of like to compare it to a car. You got your supervisory signals, which would be like your seatbelt. Like, hey, you don't have your seatbelt on, click in, and your car's beeping at you as you're going down the road. You're like, oh yeah, I didn't put the seatbelt on.
Right.
And then you got the trouble signal. It's like, hey, your check engine light's on. There's something wrong with your car. You know what I mean? Like you should probably check that out.
You should probably go look at that now.
Yeah, either one. Like it both those things mean, hey, I need to do something, right? And I try to relay that to these people, building owners and the representatives. Like I kind of try to compare it to that. It's like, hey, this is what this means whenever it's doing this. This is extremely important because when you don't take care of these things, you might as well have a building that doesn't have fire protection systems.
Absolutely.
And and when I break it down to them that way, and I always use Iconic as an example because it's in our hometown. It was a tragic event, and I'm telling you, but it makes it hit harder to them. And the biggest thing that I've done and been successful with is just educating people on these systems. And I think Zach and I were doing something in October for a apartment complex group. There's over 40 people that are going to be on this phone call. And I'm going to teach them about these fire protection systems and what it means when this is making this noise and what this means when this light's on, so, and these are, I think a lot of these guys are the maintenance supervisors.
Yeah.
So these are the guys that are, boots on the ground,
silencing the alarms and
yeah. So like this is, and I always tell them like, hey, this is your piece of San Marcos that you got to protect, and because it really is that. There's only 9 of us. Yeah. We can only be, at so many places at one time, and teaching these guys, about their systems and what and how to maintain their buildings and keep everybody safe. Because I tell them, it's like, hey, it's your responsibility to make sure that your people are safe. And again, like I like to use the car analogy. It's like if you bring other people in your car, especially children that aren't your children, what are you going to do? Right. You're going to make sure they got their seatbelt on before you go down the road.
Yep.
So you should treat your citizens no different, and the people staying at your buildings or visiting your buildings no differently. So I think there's just been a huge disconnect on, and there's a lack of education in the public of the importance of these systems or how they even function.
Right.
Even my own fire, my own fire department, it's the guys on the truck, they'll just hit reset until the fire alarm shuts up, and then, obviously to make sure that there's no issues. Right. And then once they find out there's no issues, then they're trying to figure out how to, shut the thing up. But, even educating those guys, I put on a class this last year for them, just doing an in-depth basic fire protection class for those guys. And like, it was eye-opening for a lot of them.
Awesome.
And I know what they know and what they don't know because I used to be one of them. So I still am. But anyways, yeah. So education has been the biggest thing. And when it comes time to litigation, when I go to write a citation, I don't have anybody that ever fights me on it. They're like, yeah, you told me you were going to do this.
Yeah.
And I don't ever have any issues. So, I think that's the biggest thing we could do in prevention is educating these people. Because when you do that, it's a force multiplier. You end up expanding your office in a way, from not, we have 9 guys. If I can get every property to kind of take care of themselves, man, like that makes everybody safer.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think
power
go ahead, Zach.
I was just going to say knowledge is power there. And, whether it's the apartment owners who own these buildings, whether it's somebody that's renting the space, having the common knowledge about fire safety and what to look for, what's good, and just having that common knowledge that is so um, when I was 18 looking for an apartment, the last thing in my mind was fire safety, but it's just one of those things that just needs to be taught and retouched on and kind of looked at again. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah, education it's a much stronger, you know, force multiplier than say enforcement. Enforcement, obviously, you have to follow through. It ends up being that way, and it is what it is. But education, I think building community risk reduction programs through departments and getting that message out on a more consistent basis. I mean, we're coming into October tomorrow, and we're starting fire prevention month and all that. And I hate that we just, as a fire service, we focus on 1 month. And I'm not saying as a whole, but I think we put too much emphasis into 1 month, and it needs to be a continuum. You have Brighter Than the Fire, Zach's program that needs to be out there regularly, going through these college campuses, visiting high school students, getting ready for college. Here's what you need to be looking for, but also sitting down with these apartment managers, leasing agents, and most importantly, maintenance, because these are the guys that are seeing it firsthand. Like you said, it's super awesome that you guys have that meeting and really get that message out there, because the iconic Village Fire was it's certainly a paramount fire. It's easier for y'all to make that sell in San Marcos because it directly affected the community. Up here it's not as prevalent, but we can still have those conversations with everybody. But I think having Zach get out there and letting Zach be at the forefront of this message, I mean, he lived it, you lived it, and having that message. And hell, even DJ lived it, because you still have the family side of everything. And those people had to suffer just as much as Zach did. Right. And having that message getting out there and making sure y'all are making that connections. I mean, kudos to you guys. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. I mean, again, we had the chemical plant in Georgia. Look at that one, the most recent event here. I think they're saying it was possibly a result of a malfunctioned sprinkler.
Yeah.
I kind of would like to know more about that. Right. And it goes right back to hey, making sure your systems are online. There hasn't been a single documented death in a building with a working sprinkler system.
Yeah.
There has been deaths in buildings with sprinkler systems that were turned off, and making sure that these systems are constantly up and running. And when they're not up and running, there's parameters and safeties put in place in the meantime while the systems are down to keep everybody safe. And I think just really hitting that hard and educating people will prevent or lessen things like the Georgia chemical plant situations and like your massive warehouse fires and stuff like that.
Up in Indiana, the Walmart shutting down the fire pump.
Yeah, exactly that. And then when I go into these big warehouses, they got product in between the aisles, and it's like, well, you can't have those there. And they're like, well, we can still get to the exit. And it's not about the exit. It's about keeping it contained within the rack. Like as soon as you fire spreads from one rack to the next, you're done. You lose the whole entire building. Yeah. So, and then they're like, what? And their eyes get all big. Like no one's ever told them that before.
Yeah.
And, I think again, it just goes right back to education of these people that are in these big buildings and these high hazard occupancies that, that they need guys like us, and to educate them. And unfortunately, there's not enough of us to go around to make that happen. So, I would be interested to see how we could get this to go further than just what I'm able to do.
No, that's awesome. So we're kind of running up here since we had to switch over to Zoom. Our time's kind of limited, but Matt, Bobby, I can't thank you enough. First and foremost for joining us on the show, but being a vocal advocate for people like Zach and those who have been impacted and greatly affected by fires, and going out there and truly enforcing what needs to be right. All of us Bubbas on the backside, we'll get our fire suppression. We'll be able to do our stuff, but we got to take care of our citizens. And bravo to you for making that transition. I know it's not an easy one, especially having to go to police academy. So.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's been an uphill battle for sure. Yeah.
But Zach, man, you want to add some words, Zach? I know we've kind of.
Yeah, I just want to say, it's just a real honor and a real full circle moment to have you here to see your face and share the same message. And it's one of my greatest honors and joys to know that we're all on the same side fighting for that same cause. So it rocks, brother. I'm really grateful for you and for what you're doing out there, and just making a better, brighter future with every step you take. That
absolutely
freaking rocks.
And it goes right back to what I said earlier. I'm surrounding myself with people better than me, and you're one of those people, dude. So
Zach's a stud. He truly is.
Vice versa, man. Vice versa.
All right. Well, I can't thank you guys enough. Landon, thanks for getting this all up and running for us, brother. Bobby, I'd love to be able to chat with you in person sometime. So hopefully if I'm down there or if you're ever up here, holler. I'd be glad to take you out and just have a conversation. We might invite Zach out. I don't know. We'll decide on that one. But
yeah, that sounds good.
But yeah, if anybody needs any additional information of how we can help out at Sons of the Flag, go to sonsoftheflag.org. You can find us on all social media by typing in at Sons of the Flag. Again, I cannot thank you guys enough. Thank you to Fire Engineering Blog Talk Radio. Thank you, everybody. And I got to say happy birthday to DJ. Her birthday is this past weekend, so we got to get that announced out there too. So again, thank you guys, Bobby, Zach, Landon. Thank you guys. And as always, man, stay safe and let's keep the mission first.
Thank you, Chief.
Breathing in diesel exhaust fumes is like walking into a fire without a mask. Over time, those toxins lead to cancer. Protect yourself with Magnegrip, the easiest, most reliable exhaust removal system that features a true 100% seal to eliminate diesel exhaust fumes. To get free grant assistance, visit Magnegrip.com.
Attention first responders, ready for a new challenge? You can turn your leadership skills into deliciousness by becoming a Firehouse Subs restaurant owner. First responders will receive a $100,000 cash incentive to help open their restaurant. Continue serving after service. Visit Firehouse Subs franchising